Hello there guys, it's me Unstable Voltage and welcome to episode 5 of Europa Universalis IV. In the last couple of episodes we went through the process of declaring war and we've been fighting things out with the Moroccans and the Granadans for some time now. I have played on a little bit between episodes just to try and get the war score up slightly, but we are starting to get some problems and we really need to think about ending this war. Firstly, we have these rebels up here in my territories, which were from an event earlier on, who have already managed to siege out one of my provinces. Secondly, we're actually hemorrhaging money because we have so many mercenaries at the moment. We also find that we have no manpower, which means it's very, very difficult for us to try and reinforce our troops. I've got the feeling that the Castilians may... not the Castilians, sorry, the Aragon may break its personal union with us and declare war. I have seen that happen, and he does seem to be building up military units, which is making me a little bit worrisome. So what we're going to do in this video is we are going to talk about peace treaties and basically getting things back to normal after war. So we can see we are currently winning the war. We have sieged out Almeria and Granada, which are both part of Granada's territory, and Gibraltar has been sieged and occupied by Portugal, which is potentially a bit of a problem for us. I should have dived on that earlier and made sure that my guys sieged it, but not to worry. We have sieged Tangiers and also Fez, and we're in the process of sieging Marrakesh, but we have also got the Portuguese sieging Safi. Now, if we actually click on our war button down here at the bottom, we can see that our war exhaustion is already medium, and the Portuguese is medium, so we are getting war exhaustion. Our war enthusiasm, sorry, is medium. Our war exhaustion is getting really high, so we need to get this war ended. It's also quite possible that Portugal might peace out with somebody, and if they take their own separate peace with somebody, that will lower our war score. So while we are ahead, let's have a look at what we can do. So there's two ways you can declare a peace treaty. You can either right-click on the war button, because left-click brings up the war panel that gives you the details, and right-clicking brings up the peace treaty button. The other way is to actually just left-click and then click this little button up in the top right-hand corner, which is your peace treaty. So here we are. Now, always first thing to do is make sure you clear offer, because any previous offer that has been made will still be on the table. So just give that a bit of a click. Now, what you can see here, we can see the war goal was to take Tangiers, and we can see that our war score is 46%, and basically it gives you a breakdown of everything in there. Now, remember which of these two tabs you're on, because offer tribute is basically you conceding. It's you giving stuff to the enemy, whereas demanding tribute is you asking for stuff because you are currently winning. So, we are winning, we want to demand a tribute. Now, there's several buttons along here at the top which all give you different things you can do in a peace treaty. Ceding provinces basically means that one nation gives that piece of land to the other. Revoking cores means that if a particular nation has a core claim on a province, they let go of that core. So, for example, we've got Ceuta here, if that's how it's pronounced, which is originally a core of Morocco, of course, but the Portuguese have a claim on it because it's now their territory. So what we could actually do is, as part of the peace deal, we could ask that Morocco revokes its core on Ceuta, and then they won't have a claim on it anymore. Of course, they could fabricate a claim, but that's not the point. But we could ask for that, but we're not going to. You've also got the option of returning cores. Now, the way returning cores works is if somebody has... this is the opposite of revoking cores, basically. If you used to have a core on something, you no longer they no longer have it, you can actually ask for that nation to give a core back. Well, Morocco doesn't have any of our cores at the moment, so that's not really an issue, which is why the button is greyed out. Cancel vassals. We'll talk more about vassals later, but Morocco doesn't have any vassals, so it can't cancel them. We could get it to release nations. Now, again, Morocco doesn't have any particular nations as part of it. It's just Morocco, so we can't get it to release nations. Let's say, for example, at some point that Morocco took over Algiers and integrated it into its territory, either via war or through diplomacy. We would then have the option to ask for them to release Algiers as a part of the peace deal. We've also got annul treaties, which basically tells Moroccans to cancel any deals or treaties they have with other nations. So we could ask them, for example, to annul its alliance with Tunisia. And then you've got treaties, which is where we can actually create our own treaties. And that is a very important one. So what we've got here is this. The main reason we wanted to do this is we wanted to take Granada. Now, what I could do is, normally, if we'd have managed to siege all 3 provinces, I could have just asked for the whole of Granada. And I could have picked the option to basically cede all the Granadan territories to me. I could have asked for Gibraltar. Not Gibraltar. Yes, I could have asked for Gibraltar. But unfortunately, at the moment, if I was to accept this, Gibraltar would become part of Portugal, because Portuguese have actually seized it. I can ask for Almeria, because we have sieged that. I can't ask for Granada directly, because that's their capital. And as I can't take all of Granada, it's impossible for me to actually take that at this point. So I could ask for Almeria. Now, we could ask for Tangiers, which is our war goal. And another option I could go for is to actually ask Granada to become a Castilian vassal. Now, if you actually see down here at the bottom, you've got the peace offer. This is how much in score it will actually cost you for all of these things. So if we actually look, Almeria would cost me 13% of the war score. So if I just clear the offer, if I click on, you can even click on provinces directly on the mini map or on the main map. So if I click on Almeria, you can see the peace offer is 13 because Almeria would require 13% war score. Now, also, it would become a part of Castile. It's not part of our war goal, so it would cost us 40 extra diplomatic power to take that, which is the reason why we've been saving this diplomatic power. We'd also get a little bit of prestige. Now, overextension is a very important thing when you are declaring a peace treaty. Every time you take additional land and your empire gets bigger, you are overextending. You're taking on more provinces that your administration has to deal with. And when you become overextended, it has a really negative effect on your particular nation. You lose trade efficiency, there's more chance of revolt risk, your inflation goes up. In general, it costs more administrative power to increase your stability. So in general, you never really want to overextend or try and overextend as little as possible. However, taking Almeria wouldn't give us any overextension at all, and that is because it's a legitimate core. It already technically is part of our nation, or it used to be, and we're just trying to take it back. So we won't get any overextension for taking that, which is a good thing. If we were to take Tangiers, on the other hand, that would take 28% of the war score, which in total is 41, means we could still take it. Wouldn't cost us any diplomatic power this time, because it is actually the war goal, but because it's not actually a core of ours, we would actually get a hefty bit of overextension, and we really want to avoid doing that, because that would give us 32% overextension. Now, one thing I would like to get under treaties is to ask Granada to become a Castilian vassal. Now, if I select that, that's 35% war score, and that takes us up to 76, which is well over the 46. Sometimes the AI will accept an offer if it is higher than the war score, but only by a certain amount. And if you mouse over the green tick or the red cross, it will actually give you the breakdown and tell you exactly where the positives and negatives are coming from. So, I'm going to say I don't want Tangiers, mainly because if I did take Tangiers, it's overseas. I wouldn't get quite as much from it anyway, because it will be classed as a distant overseas province. I would like it eventually. We can always try and take it in a subsequent war when we are a little better prepared. And the thing is, there's so much to do over here, because first of all, we would have to make it into a core province. That takes time and administrative power, and making it into a core province also increases the revolt risk, which means we'd have to keep soldiers here to try and kill the rebels. It's also part of Morocco, so it is going to be of the Sunni religion. I believe it should be Sunni. Was it Abadi? I thought it was part of Sunni. Anyway, it's a different religion, so we are going to we would have to flip the religion over. And it's also a different culture, so we may have to pop that as well. So at the moment, taking Tangiers is too much work. So what we are going to ask for is we are going to ask for Almeria. and we are going to ask for the rest of Granada to become a Castilian vassal. So if we actually look here, we can see the breakdown. We would get 6 prestige from the deal. It would cost us 90 diplomatic power, which is fine. We wouldn't get any overextension at all, because all we are taking is land that was ours to begin with. We would actually get 24.6 aggressive expansion. Now, aggressive expansion is basically a warmonger penalty. The more you actually take from other nations, the more expansion, aggressive expansion you get. Now, it has the most effect on your closest neighbours. So as you can see, my aggressive expansion will have the biggest impact on Morocco, then Granada, Algiers and Tunisia, and then we start getting to Aragon, the Ottomans, and all of these other nations that are too far away to give a monkeys. They really do not care. So it's only really going to affect your neighbours. That is not too bad. And if you actually look down here in the summary, it will give you the full breakdown in close to written English. We negotiate on behalf of the entire alliance, and they are negotiating for their entire alliance, because remember, you can peace out with people individually. So always remember, when you actually go for the peace deal, you are peacing out with the entire group, and you're not peacing out with one individual nation. So we want to peace out with Morocco, which is what we are doing here. So Granada will cede Almeria to Castile, so that will become one of our provinces. Granada will become a vassal of Castile, which we'll talk about more once it happens. The peace will cost Castile 90 diplomatic power. With the Conquest Cassius Belli, Castile gains 6 prestige and suffers 24.6 aggressive expansion relations penalty. This peace will give Morocco -4 prestige. And again, it's just got, it will cost us 90 diplomatic power and result in 0 inflation. Now, we might be able to take a little bit of money from them, because we're still going over the war score here. We'll eventually... Right, 51 is the maximum amount of ducats they have. They don't have any more money. So we could take that. That will actually give us a tiny bit more over inflation, 0.06, but we are very short on money at the moment. So what we are going to do is we are going to send that demand, and we are going to unpause. You will need a free diplomat, of course, to be able to send a peace treaty. And here we go, we can see my king Morocco accepted our generous peace offer. Granada will cede Almeria to Castile. Granada will become a vassal of Castile. Basically, it's all the same information that was down in the peace treaty. Fine. So we are no longer at war with Morocco. Almeria is now part of our territory. It's already a core province, so we don't have to worry about that. Now, of course, Granada still considers it to be one of their cores, but that is fine. The Sunni... It is Sunni religion. We will be able to flip that over later on, but we have bigger fish to fry. Now, we've also got Granada here. Now, if we actually look, if we right-click on Granada and look at their relations here, we can see that Granada is a vassal of Castile. And, of course, if I actually look at Granada, we can see under our vassals that Granada is a vassal of ours. So, what is a vassal? A vassal is a little bit like a puppet nation. They're still autonomous in the way that they will level up on their technologies. They will be able to build their own military units. They will be able to build their own buildings within their provinces. I don't have any direct control over the Granadans. What does happen, though, is that they will give me a certain percentage of their trade each month, or a certain percentage of their tax income. So if we go across to... it's not trade. I can never remember which tab this is in. Subjects. There we go. So Granada, they do have a big negative opinion of us at the moment, but they will be giving us X amount of... Your vassals are required to pay you 37.1% of their monthly tax to you. They're probably not making anything at the moment, so we will need to go and improve our relations with them. So you get money from your vassals, and also if you go to war, they automatically get pulled into the war on your side. They have no choice about it. It is going to happen. They are a part of you. They have to do as they are told. Now, we've still got our relationships going on with Aragon. They are the lesser partner in a personal union. It's not possible to inherit this union unless it has been stable for 50 years. So it does take quite a while once you get a personal union to be able to actually integrate them into your nation. And let's remember, that is one of our goals as Castile, to form Spain, which means partnering up along the way with Aragon. Now, we should take a look at some of these things that we have across the top now, because we are getting an awful lot of pop-ups. First of all, too few rivals. We no longer have somebody's a rival. It's probably Morocco. They're probably... No, we can still have Morocco as a rival. Portugal is a ally at the moment, so we'll probably continue with Morocco as our rival. That gets rid of that message. We have loans coming due. We don't have an awful lot of money, so that's nothing we can really deal with. Now, we actually have revolts possible. Following provinces run a risk of having a revolt. Almeria, mainly, and Leon, which already has some rebels in, which we do need to go and deal with. Now, a couple of different options we have. First of all, let's just have a look and see if we can reduce our war exhaustion. One of these days, I'll just remember which button it goes into and hit it straight away. So we could spend some diplomatic power and reduce our war exhaustion. We probably should. Very expensive doing that, but it will help our war power, our manpower to increase. So we have, if we actually look down here, we can see, you can get to this the same way if you actually left click on the revolts, and it brings you back to the stability and expansion screen, and you can see these are where you have the biggest chance of revolts. So you can see we've got Granadan peasants in Almeria, and they have a 2.3% chance of uprising each month. And then we have the Castilian nobles, which are these guys up here in Leon. Now, they want increased privileges. They are 0% towards enforcing their demands, so we may have time to go and kill them. The other option is we have the Handle Them button. The Handle Them button allows us to actually accept their demands. So they want increased aristocracy, which would lose us 50 prestige and lose us 50 legitimacy. And we could accept those demands and then they would go away and leave us alone. But the best thing to do is probably to go and roll over them. We could also spend 143 of our 618 administrative power to boost our stability, but I don't think we need to do that just yet. So what we are going to do is sort a few issues out here. We have units that have suffered casualties. We know that we have units that can't reinforce because our manpower is so low. And you've got this little man with a black flag next to him. You have troops in foreign territory. So these are guys that are somewhere where they're not supposed to be. And we need to get them back home safely. So we still have the military access from Portugal. We're going to march all of our troops into Portugal. We are going to group these ships together and we are going to go over here so we can pick them up now. We don't actually have... actually, we're going to stay there because we don't have military fleet basing rights. So we can't actually dock here. We could ask the Portuguese for fleet basing rights, but I can't be bothered. So we're going to unpause that. So our main purpose here is we actually want to get our troops across and get them back onto our own land. Particularly if Castile, if Aragon does start getting some ideas about attacking. And they do appear to be building a little bit of an army here. So the other things we've got, disputed successions we've covered before. Claims on provinces we do not own, because of course we still have the... claim on Tangiers, and we also have a claim on Alicante as well. We have too many diplomatic relations, which we already know about. We're currently at 6 of 4. We have a royal marriage and an alliance with England, which we'd probably want to keep. We certainly want to keep our relations with Aragon and Granada and Navarra and Naples. All of them really we'd like to try and keep so we can integrate them. So we're going to take the hit. So because we are over by 2 diplomacy, relations, we will actually take a hit to our diplomacy each month. So if you actually look on here, you can see at the bottom of that list, 6 of 4 diplomatic relations gives us a -2 penalty, which is a little bit of a pain. What we could do, of course, if we wanted to, is we could switch our where's our advisors? We could switch our focus on to diplomacy, but you can only do it every 25 years, and we can't do it for another 17 years at this point, so we'll just have to take that hit. There's nothing really we can do. Our truces go up to 1462 with Tunisia, Tripoli, Morocco and Granada. Now this is something that was changed in one of the recent expansions. the more you take from them, the more the value of the peace deal, the longer the treaty will last. So if you have a war that has, I think it's under 50%, I think you only get like a 5-year truce, and if it's over 50%, it goes into a 10-year truce. And we've got a few things that we can build. Now, one that I did skip over, which is very important, is this one here. You can invest in a new technology. If we click on that tab, which just takes us to the technology tab here, you have 3 different technology trees. You have the administrative, the diplomatic, and the military, which of course just marries up with the types of points you have. Now, our current administrative technology is level 3. And you see these little clocks over here. These tell you whether you are ahead or below time, or whether you get bonuses from your neighbours. So if it is a green negative number, it means it actually costs you less to get this technology. You've got some sort of bonus to getting it more quickly. If it is red and a positive figure, it means it's going to cost you more expansion. It's going to cost you more points to actually do it, normally because you are too far ahead of time. And the little green bar beneath each one shows you the progress. So as you can see, we have 625 administrative power, which means we have filled up the progress bar, because this technology will only cost us 538. So we get a 0.3% reduction because it's just increased over time because we're falling behind in technology. We get a 5% reduction because one of our neighbours is already at administrative level 4. And somebody has a university, so we get minus 5% for that as well. So what would we get for taking these the next level? Well, it would unlock the first of our idea groups. Now, if we go in ideas, we can see we don't actually have any of our idea groups unlocked. You can have a total of 8 different idea groups unlocked, and they unlock when you reach a certain level of administrative technology. So the first one's unlocked at administrative tech 4. The second one is unlocked at Tech 7, the third at Tech 10, 14, 17, 22, 26, 29, and so on. We also have these national ideas, but they will increase automatically once we start getting ourselves these ones here. So we're going to go into technology. We are going to spend our administrative power. We were saving it up so we could core Tangiers, but as we didn't take Tangiers, that's not a problem. So we are going to click on that, and that will cost us 538 of our administrative power. And we have now leveled up our tech. As you can see, this green -5 has now gone to a plus red 10 because we are now 1 year ahead of time technology-wise, which means if we wanted to increase it again, we would get a 10% penalty to the cost. So we now get this little pop-up with light bulbs, which means we can choose a new idea group. We have a free slot. So if we click on that, we have a big list of different ideas we can take. Now, they're split into 3 categories: administrative, diplomatic, and military ideas. Now what you do is you pick one of these groups, and then every time you get a surplus of a particular type of power, you can spend that power to get one of the different ideas within the group. Now, we're going to be saving quite a lot of diplomatic and administrative power because that's very useful for other stuff. Military power is the one that we're most likely to get a lot of early on. So let's take a military idea, and then we can use our military power for that. So you have aristocratic ideas, which give you noble knights, which is a cheaper cavalry cost and better cavalry combat ability. Local nobility, so hostile core creation on us costs 100% more. So if somebody takes a piece of our land and tries to create a core, it's going to cost them a lot more to be able to do it. We also get increased income from vassals. So you got all those different things in there. Offensive ideas concentrates on having an army that is better at being aggressive and attacking. Defensive ideas concentrates on an army that is better at obviously defending. And you have quality and quantity ideas, which concentrate on either building massive armies or very strong armies. And then you've got naval ideas, which concentrate on basically having good trade with your navy and also good naval combat abilities. Now, because I'm a little bit worried what Aragon might be up to, it's either a case of going quantity ideas or defensive ideas. National manpower modifier plus 50% could be very, very useful from quantity ideas. Infantry combat ability plus 10% could be quite useful here in quality ideas. And defensive ideas allows us to focus heavily on military advancements and thereby increase our army tradition yearly by 1%, which could be quite useful. Better morale, better land leader maneuvering ability, less maintenance modifier, better reinforced speed, less land attrition. I think we're going to be playing defensive quite a lot, so I'm going to pick defensive ideas here and click OK. So King, we have unlocked the defensive ideas group. So now you can see we've got this other pop-up here, which is a light bulb, and that's because we actually have enough military power to spend it on the first defensive idea. Now we'll already get something, you get more stuff when it's fully unlocked, of course, but what we need to think about now is, do we save our military power so that we can level up our military technology, or do we spend what we have on our first idea? I think we're going to spend 400 and get +1 yearly army tradition, because that is very, very good. So if we click the little highlighted box there, that will spend 400 of our military power, and that gives us our first idea in defensive ideas. And of course, it's going to cost us another 400 power to get to the next one, which is military drill. And you also see that this green bar has started to fill up. For every 3 ideas you spend in here, you will unlock your nation ideas, so our Spanish ideas. So once we've unlocked 3 national ideas, we will unlock the Reconquista, which will give us an extra colonist, and it will give us some extra discipline. Then we will get better missionary strength for the Spanish Inquisition, but we'll get less tolerance to heretics and heathens. Then we'll get devout Catholicism, which will give us more yearly papal influence, and so on and so forth as you go up the tree. You can already see from our Spanish ideas, though, that we get +1 missionaries, we get 10% to the morale of our armies, and we also get a 25 global settler increase, and we get an extra missionary. Is that just repeated twice? Yeah, it's the same thing, it's just repeated twice on there. So you do get certain bonuses from those ideas. So the next thing to do is bring home our armies. So we're going to unpause, because I've waffled on for long enough. And everyone should eventually group up over here. Now, this is something that is quite usual after you've had a war. Algiers has entered a military coalition against you. Now, this is what happens when you start to get aggressive expansion, is people will start to go into a coalition against you, which basically means if you attack one of them, the entire coalition will be against you. Now, I don't think there is a huge coalition at the moment. If we actually click on our own nation, is the easiest way to find them, and it is somewhere on this list, right there. Target of a coalition of Algiers. So Algiers is the only person in the current coalition. I'm not sure if you can technically have a coalition if there's only one person in it, but there you go. So we're going to group these guys together. And we are going to, well, we don't want them to move all the way around to Cadiz. We actually want them to go via the boats if they can. Can they get on the boats? No. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to talk to Portugal. And we are going to ask them for access actions, and we're going to ask for fleet basing rights. They're almost guaranteed to say yes, which they have done. We're going to move our ships, and we can now dock our ships here, and we can actually pick these guys up. So let's start getting these guys onto the transports, and let's start getting the transports over to Cadiz, and we start dropping our troops off back home. Actually quite quick for them to do. It's actually a lot quicker doing it this way around, because you can actually dock. It means you don't have to wait for your men to wade across the water or paddle out in their little boats. So we have an Italian engineer available. This is another random event. So we can either gain 40 military power for the loss of 40 ducats, or we can lose 10 prestige. Now, we don't have an awful lot of prestige, and I believe we do have a mission to increase that. Let's go ahead and lose the ducats. I know we're already losing money, but we have just spent a lot of military power. It would be nice to get some of that back, so I don't mind that too much. Let's get these guys to attach to the fleet and get the fleet to drop them off. And we're going to need to start building up our navy quite quickly. Let's make sure I've got the ships selected. I always manage to screw that one up somehow. Safely arrived, attached to the fleet. What I should do, which I'm not going to do at the moment, because of course I don't have anywhere near enough cash, but what I should be doing is actually building some more transports, and this will certainly make things like this easier in the future. So let's get the rest of these soldiers across. I'm still playing on the faster speed, which I really shouldn't be, to be honest, but attached to the transport. As you can see, it's quite fiddly when you only have a small number of troops. Now, here we go. Granada are actually building some troops. Now, one thing that I should do is actually improve my relationship with Granada, because at the moment their opinion of us is really, really low. So I'm going to go into diplomacy with them, and we're going to go into relationship actions and improve relations, and that will send our diplomat over there to try and sort things out. Now, we already know that we are currently over our number of diplomatic relations. One thing to bear in mind with diplomatic relations is that things like military access and fleet basing access also count as a relation. So if we actually look at Portugal, you can see that we have military access and fleet basing access. Now, we already have a royal marriage and an alliance with them anyway, so having the access with them isn't that much of a problem. But if I were to ask for military access from France, for example, because maybe I want to declare war on Burgundy and march across to them, that would give me a relationship with France for having the military access, which would put me at 7/4. So do be careful how many of those accesses you have. You can go back to those people and you can cancel your fleet basing rights and military rights. Of course, you do have to wait for the well, we've still got forces within them, so we can't cancel it yet. You will need a free diplomat as well. So let's just continue picking up the rest of these troops. Still a little bit worried about Aragon. Okay, hopefully that might be everybody this time. No, there's still a small number of troops left. Let's just unpause. And we'll pick everybody up. Okay, back to there. Attach to transport. Grab the transport. And no. Did that wrong. Attach to transport, select the transport, and let's get everybody back to safe ground. And those guys can stay docked there. We have our group. They're going to group together. They don't have a leader at the moment, so we're in our own territory. We do have a leader here. He's not particularly brilliant, but we will assign him. And we need to go up and deal with these rebels. So that's what we're going to do. We are going to march north. Now, one of the things that's actually quite expensive is we do have quite a few mercenary units here. Now, as you can see, a lot of our regiments actually don't have any men in them at all. If we actually look here at Madrid's 2nd Regiment has no men. Toledo's 2nd Regiment also has no men. Basically, most of these regiments are down to their last small handful of men. Now, most of the ones that do have men are the mercenaries, because mercenaries don't use your manpower to reinforce, because they're not technically part of your army. They are mercenaries for hire. So what we're going to do is we are going to try and unsiege Lyon here if we can. We do need to really go and wipe these guys out, but at the moment our army is kind of squishy, and if we go in there right now, we are going to end up getting a river crossing penalty, and they will just take us out. So we're going to see how well we can do on the siege here. Certainly try and get to a point where we get a few more forces. So let's just increase the speed of things slightly. So, while we're waiting for that to happen, what have we covered in this video today? Well, first of all, we have... Oh, there goes Morocco entering the coalition as well. We have discussed how to create a peace deal. We've talked a little bit about vassals, and we've gone through the technologies as well. Now, the technologies do have different things that they affect. So, your administrative technology affects things like, first of all, the ideas that you can unlock. They also unlock various different types of leadership, so you can become things like a republic or a feudal monarchy or a tribal democracy. So you've got the option to switch between all of these sort of things here. They also increase things like your production efficiency and your administrative efficiency. Diplomatic technologies mostly affects things like your navy and your ships, allows you to unlock better naval units, gives you better trade power, more trade distance, more colonial distance. And then military technology is mostly just increasing the power of your land units, giving you increased higher tier levels of infantry, cavalry, and eventually artillery, and also giving you things like better naval tradition and military tradition and things like that. So they're all pretty much, I think, relatively self-explanatory with those. So these these noble rebels are actually starting to siege this province out quite well. They actually have quite a good leader there, but we are getting some reinforcements. It is quite slow. What I'd like to be able to show you guys is how to deal with consolidating your armies and getting rid of mercenaries and things like that. So what we're going to do, they're probably going to siege that place out before we unsiege Lyon, unfortunately, but we will do our best. So we've got our diplomat in Granada. He is doing quite well. What's our relationship like with Aragon at the moment? Could we improve relations with them? I think we should send a diplomat over there to try and improve our relations, because we really don't want them to end up splitting with us. And then later on in another video, hopefully I will be able to show you how you can start to integrate vassals, like Navarra, for example. We don't have a diplomat to send, but covert, economic, where are we? I can never find it. Alliance actions. Offer vassalization. Ah, they may actually be able to do it. Okay. Well, we'll allow things to carry on for the time being. Yeah, these rebels are most likely going to win that siege there, but I'd prefer to either trap... I mean, they are pretty much at their full manpower, so that army's not going to get any bigger, but this army is. Now, what I could do, one option you do have, if I select the army here, as you can see, this army has a lot of units that have no men in them or hardly any men at all. Now, what I could choose to do is hit this button, which would consolidate the regiments. So, merges all under-strength regiments of the same type to create as many full-strength regiments as possible. So, we would still have the same number of men total, but we would have less regiments, which would reduce down our force limit. It would also mean that we wouldn't be spending as much money each month in reinforcing our armies, but I think we're going to try and need to get as many men as possible. They have managed to take that province, which is absolutely fine. We're going to continue to siege this one out. Now, I think I did say at the start of this little series of videos, I don't intend for this to be a full playthrough, because that could go on for literally hundreds of episodes. And I know that some of these episodes have been rather long, but what I'm trying to do is just cover all the basics of playing the game. And it's one of those things that I found it was easier to do by playing the game through and explaining a lot of the things as they happened, than trying to actually read out the manual and go through and explain all of the different things that you can and can't do. It's just far too much to remember, to be quite honest, so I figured that we wouldn't do that. So I'm not going to bother with the vassalizations of Navarra on this particular turn. We'll talk about more about rebels in a future video and how to deal with rebel uprisings. And then we will also consider going through the vassalizations and everything else at a separate time. It's too much to try and cram into one video. But what I would like to do, just to finish this video off, is end this siege over here, get Lyon back, and then consider rolling into these guys. Okay, we have now taken out Lyon. Now, what's going to happen here is these guys are actually attacking us, which is great for us because we are in the mountains. So, we actually get a good bonus here. They've given themselves a terrain penalty and a crossing penalty. We're getting better rolls. Their morale is almost down to nothing. And they have been squished. Fantastic. So now they've been squished, I can show you the other thing that I wanted to do. We will need to go and unsiege this, which we will do shortly. But what you can do is, if you select your army, you've got this little button here, which looks like a guy with a black tricorn hat. And it says all mercenaries from this unit will be detached and form a separate unit. So if we click that button, it actually splits the unit up. If we click again, we select all of the mercenaries and we can disband this unit. And that instantly puts us into positive money because we're no longer paying for all those mercenaries. As you can see, we now have six regiments here, and a lot of them are very, very weak. If we were at this point to consolidate them, we would probably still have 2 cavalry regiments, but we'd probably only have about 6 infantry regiments, if that, and then we'd have to start going around and making more regiments. We don't really have the manpower. We need to let our manpower recover, but we will move these guys over here and unsiege that province, and we'll probably do that in between videos. But there we go. So quick recap what we have managed to do. We've ended the war. We've talked through how to create a peace deal. We've talked a little bit about vassals, what they are and what they do for you, and we'll talk about annexing vassals in a future video. And we've talked a little bit about national ideas and technologies. Next video we'll cover the vassals in more detail, and hopefully we'll be able to do some more stuff on rebellions and also religious conversions, because that marries up quite nicely with the rebellions, because trying to convert or core a province will cause its rebellion chance to increase. So thanks a lot for watching, guys. I've been Unstable Voltage. This has been Europa Universalis IV, and I'll see you next time. So until then, goodbye for now.